Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Welcome to today's webinar. My name is Jared Hornsby, and I'm here today to help answer any general or technical questions that you may have. But before we get started, I would like to welcome you to today's webinar, Adopt a Digital-First Marketing Strategy. Here's the breakdown for today's timing. These numbers are going to be rough, so don't hold us to these, but at any point during today's webinar, if you have a question, please don't hesitate to submit those using the Ask a Question tab at the bottom of your screen. You can also chat with fellow attendees by clicking the audience chat that's also at the bottom of the screen. Please use the audience chat to say hello, tell us where you're from. We always love to see the mix of people that we get inside. Here's a little bit about us over here at CMSWire. We were founded in 2003 and cover the primary topics that you see on the slide here. You can read more of our great content and register for upcoming conferences and webinars by visiting cmswire.com. Our Connect event in Austin, Texas is coming up in May. We have a little bit more about that in our post-event survey. If you would like to hear a little bit more, please stay for that. I would really like to thank today's sponsor, Contentstack, for making today's webinar possible. Contentstack is the composable DXP leader, empowering marketers and developers to deliver composable digital experiences at the speed of their imagination. So thank you to Contentstack. And before we get into today's content, I would like to introduce our speakers for today. Susan Bierman is a three-time CMO with 25 plus years of software marketing experience, prior positions including Global VP of Marketing at Saba, Jigsaw, Taleo, and Microsoft. Erica is the founder of Erica Healed Marketing Consulting with 25 plus years of content marketing experience, with prior positions at Charles Schwab, United Behavioral Health, and NCHRA. I think that's enough out of me. Susan, if you'd like to take over, please do.
Thanks, Jared. Welcome, everybody. It's so great to have you all take time to attend the webinar today, and really looking forward to the conversation and interaction throughout the session. So quickly, here's the agenda of what we're going to be covering today. First, we'll talk about defining digital first and what does that actually mean? What are the drivers that are really moving us to a digital first strategy across our various businesses and organizations? And as you look to building your digital strategies and wherever you are on your journey, what are the organizational and technology implications that you have to think through in order to really embrace a digital first strategy? I was, prior to joining Contentstack as the CMO, I was the CMO of a company called ICE Mortgage Technology, where I was a customer of Contentstack. So I'll talk about some of my firsthand experiences as a CMO and how we leveraged Contentstack for our digital first strategy. And then we'll look at some of the emerging technologies that you all are reading about and hearing about, and maybe even experimenting with. And I think there's some just really exciting things on the horizon here. And so we'll talk a bit about that. I'll wrap up with sort of some 5 key steps to get started on continuing your digital journeys, as well as we'll have time for a Q&A. We will mix it up with Erica and I both speaking, as well as interjecting some interactive polls, so you have an ability to interact with us as well and tell us where you are based on the various poll questions, etc. So with that, let's just dig into it. So what do we mean by digital first? It's really a digital strategy that is focused on engagement with your audience, whether your audience is your customers, your prospects, maybe it's even your employees or your partners. And how can we use digital technologies to really reach many people in a very effective and efficient manner and give a really great digital experience across whatever device they're using, whether it's their laptop, their mobile phone, their watch, digital signage in buildings or at events, digital billboards. The list goes on and on. So how do we deliver these great digital experiences to the audiences that we want to reach where they are at on any device? So an omnichannel experience. And really, when I I think one of the greatest advantages, as you all know, with digital is that we have so much data now. We can see very, very quickly what's working, what's not working. And if we're really leaning into the data and the insights that it's giving us, we can adjust our plans accordingly, and really improve and optimize our operations by all these various channels. And we want to be able to do it quickly. I think speed to market and speed to developing content and sharing content, and creating great digital experiences is really what it's all about. And then I think the last point is that digital first it's not an afterthought. It's not one department in marketing that's focused on it. It's really everybody on the marketing team who needs to really think digital first. So what is driving all of this? I mean, if you think about really how rapid this transformation has been and how it continues to evolve daily, weekly, monthly, it's really about customers' expectations or consumer expectations. We all want to have a great digital experience, whether we're online having a shopping experience, whether we're booking our travel, whether we're interacting, we have a support issue and we need to interact with our insurance company on an auto claim, for example. And our customers are demanding really great experiences, and they will vote with their feet and move to a different provider if they have a better digital experience than you're providing.
Susan, I'm
Yeah.
sorry. I wanted to note, previously, frequently companies felt like it was just really the early adopters that cared about that digital experience. But we're seeing that in Salesforce State of the Connected Consumer research, that we had 56% of customers expecting every offer they received to be personalized to them. So you had to have that data and be putting it into action. And they also, 85%, they expect that across that omnichannel digital experience, that it's going to be consistent, that you knew what they'd already looked at, you knew what they were considering, and that you're giving them that personalized experience. So we definitely have some pretty steep ideals to live up to.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great point. So thank you for interjecting, Erica. I mean, we all really want that personalized experience. There's nothing more annoying than you're entering information about you, or they know it's you and they know your account, you're logged in, and yet they ask you all these questions about yourself that they should already know. So I think that that is really annoying to consumers. It's certainly annoying to me. And so the bar is very, very high. And even in, I'm in the B2B land here selling software to businesses, but we all expect a consumer-ish experience, even if it's within our business applications. So it's very exciting to see how it's evolving. Kind of moving on to competitive pressures, people will switch vendors, as I mentioned. Think about how Amazon came out with one-click ordering, and it put all retailers and e-commerce sites, on their toes to, quickly evolve and adapt to that competitive pressure of losing business to Amazon because they were offering such a great consumer experience. We also have technologies, and we'll talk a lot about technologies today, and it's super exciting just to see what we can now do today with digital technologies and what we're going to be able to do in the future as more and more technology advancements are made. Looking for cost efficiencies. I mean, we're all concerned, particularly in this, economic climate right now, about how can we do more with less? How can we increase our velocity of content generation and publishing that to multiple channels with a click of a button, and minimizing the amount of developer time as well. And then just getting to time to market, getting that as short as possible to leapfrog the competition and to give your customers really great experiences. So we have our first poll question.
Thanks so much for teeing that up. So that we can kind of tailor how we're approaching the rest of the presentation, we wanted to start just by asking everyone to answer the poll question to let us know how far along you are in your digital first journey. And we'll give about a minute, so that way we have enough time for folks to answer, and we can see what folks are saying. I'm not seeing any of the responses yet. So don't be shy. We want to hear from you. All right, there we go. Well, so far it's looking as though we have a lot of folks who are here because they're just getting going and are looking for some ideas, which is great. And then we have a few who have made significant progress, and some folks who are here because they haven't gotten started and they're looking for some ideas on getting started. And good news, we do definitely have some ideas for you towards the end of the presentation.
That's great. It's great to see just the variety and the split between those various answers with, most of you in the middle, but some really early and some very far along. So it's great to have all those different experiences and talents within the audience here. So let's talk about some, quick high-level results that we're seeing with some of our customers. I've got 3 different examples here, 3 very different companies. Elastic is a software company. Iceland Air, of course, is an airline, and Dawn Foods is a very old, established company that embraced digital, which is really great to see. So Elastic was able to, looking at their legacy CMS system, replacing it with a more modern approach. And they were able to speed up their development timelines by over 500%. So that web development time dramatically increased their velocity there. In the case of Iceland Air, they replaced, again, a legacy CMS, and to reduce their content publishing times and speeding up translations. In their case, it's an international audience and a global audience, so they needed to really make sure that they had all of their content translated for the various languages, and they were able to do that in under 3 weeks. So that's pretty impressive. And then Dawn Foods, I mentioned, is a 100-year-old company, and they really leaned into digital. And so they went from taking orders offline to online, and they were able to roll out their e-commerce platform in under 22 weeks, which is, no small feat for a relatively large company.
Having lived through those kinds of transitions during my time at Schwab, it's very impressive how quickly folks were able to stand up the new CMS. So kudos.
Yeah, very much so. When you look about approaching a digital-first strategy, I think you really need to look at 2 major buckets of things. One is the people side of the equation, and the other is the technology side. So when I talk about people, it's like, is your team thinking digital first? Are you thinking digital first? And how do you instill that mindset within yourself and your team? Do you have the right skill sets? Probably not. I mean, I know that we're adopting new technologies. We don't necessarily have the skill sets on our existing team. So we have a choice, like, do we hire someone who has a particular specialization, or do we, train up our existing staff to take on the management of some new technologies? So I think that you need to think through the people side of things as well. And then is the organization really optimal as you embrace this digital first strategy? And then on the technology side is like execute technically. What is it you're trying to achieve? What is your business objective? And then backing into, well, what are the technologies that are going to help me get there as easily and quickly and cost effectively as possible? And the great thing about the modern composable approach is you can pick components based on your unique business requirements that are easily integrated together and can operate as a whole, and just really get a tech stack that's very unique to what you're trying to achieve, and not be locked into something that's very monolithic and difficult to change.
And to anticipate a question that I know we're going to receive, yes, Susan is going to share a peek at what their tech stack looks like. So that'll be coming up in a few slides, and I know I can't wait to see it.
I know, like, we can geek out on tech stacks together, everybody. This is assembling the right team slide here, and really, I think the key point here is this may look like a kind of a traditional org chart, but if you look beneath the various departments, how are they leveraging digital to do great product marketing? How are we leveraging digital technologies to offer omnichannel campaigns, ABM platforms, for example, CRM systems, marketing automation. From a brand marketing perspective, perhaps you are creating digital communities to interact with your customers and partners, as well as leaning on AI, generative AI, to increase your velocity of content development. And then finally, marketing operations, I think, is such an exciting field right now. So for those of you in the audience who are in marketing operations, I think you chose a really great career path. But if we have so much data, I spoke about this earlier, in the digital world, and if we could really look at that data, analyze it, and really glean great insights from it, and it can help us drive our future strategies and help us optimize our channels accordingly. So it really starts with digital first thinking at the head of marketing below, and getting each of your leaders and the rest of your teammate thinking digitally as well, and being skilled up to lean into it.
And I'd say if you are still having a marketing org chart where you've got this lonely silo of digital sitting over there to the far right, you're going to need to think about how you really can bust that silo, because your customers are expecting that digital infuses everything you do. So if it's not integrated with all the other roles and parts of that customer experience, you're really doing yourself a disservice.
Yeah, I was speaking with a good friend of mine who's also a CMO, and she and I both are fairly new in our roles, and we were talking about org structures, et cetera. And it's like I was talking about demand gen versus digital marketing. She goes, "Well, wait a minute, isn't it all digital marketing?" I'm like, "Yeah, it is. It really is. If you think about it, we're all digital marketers now."
Yeah.
I wanted to share with you some interesting results from a Deloitte survey that they just issued, I think, a few weeks ago. So it's 2023 data. And they asked chief marketing officers what their top priorities were for the next 12 months. And the number one thing was investing more in digital technologies and platforms. And I found that really fascinating. So in this era where we're all being asked to tighten our belts and maybe cut our spending, these CMOs are telling us that they are really, despite that, this is an area where they're investing in and investing more than they have previously. So I think that that's very interesting to see. And I know, as I came in and built the marketing strategy for us for this year, I looked at all of our various, things that we were doing in the previous year, and what really gave us the most return. And I made a very conscious decision to invest more and more in the digital technologies and the digital ad spend, et cetera. So because I could see a really, really great ROI in it. So I don't think that it looks like I'm not unique here. This survey is certainly supporting the fact that other CMOs are investing even more this year, despite the challenging economic environment that we're in. And Erica, you want to take this one?
Yeah. So, of course, what I thought was fascinating as somebody who is always focused on content is the content marketing budget has pretty much, it's grown to kind of stretch across all those different departments. And in a lot of organizations, content marketing spend is about 50% of the entire marketing budget, because of the fact that your content, it's such an integral part of what you're doing in all of these different realms. So when you're talking about marketing technology spend, you're talking about a lot of technology that is focused on delivering content, creating better content workflows. And so this was really interesting for me to see that the most used piece of content technology is probably not what we would think. It's actually analytics tools, because we need to prove why, of course, content needs to have that budget and that it's returning the investment. And then we have a lot of other tools that are around publishing that content. And so it's just something to really think about, is all of these different tools that are being used on the content marketing team are being used by everybody in that org chart that Susan shared. They're being used for all of these different elements of content production and distribution in order to move businesses forward. So there's really a lot going on. And of course, then that means people are having challenges when it comes to actually integrating all of that. So I think that that ends up becoming a pretty frequent reason for then having to take a step back and assess, how can we do a better job of making sure all of these platforms are talking together and doing what we need them to do, which leads us into our next poll question. So what are your main drivers for investing in digital? So Sue, you were just talking about that a little bit for your organization. Do you want to share a little bit as far as what some of your primary objectives are with your spend for this year?
Yeah, for sure. Thank you. Again, looking at the return on the investment, I mean, I'm focused on a couple things. And one is, generating pipeline, right? I don't think you can talk to a CMO who's not faced with that being the number one priority. And so it's a great contributor to our pipeline. And I think, more strategically, we're a global company. And so there's things that we're doing to invest more to make us appear like a global company than maybe we appear to be so today. And I'll talk a little bit more about that in a few minutes.
Excellent. Well, it looks like folks love all of our answers. So we've got multiple objectives we're trying to accomplish, which makes sense because we should all be so lucky as to only have one business goal that we're trying to support with anything that we're doing. But it looks like also the new market penetration is a big driver of digital spend as well.
Yeah, I love that. Whether it's entering a new geography or launching a new product offering, I think that's really a driver for me as well. And then it's, like we said, it's like, every faster time to market, new market penetration, improved cost structures, and the majority of you picked all of the above, followed by new market penetration. So really, really interesting. So let's talk about some of the questions that you should ponder as you are, wherever you are in your digital journey, whether you're at the beginning, the middle, or well on your way. I think these still apply. And I think number one is, what are your goals? Start with the end in mind. What is it you're trying to achieve? And really being clear about that. And then thinking through, well, what are the technologies that I need to help me get there and get there fast and get there in a cost-effective manner, right? And so whether it's, you want to grow your business, which I'm sure you all do, as well as if you want to save money, which we're all, of course, being pressured to do, it's really looking at those two sides of the equation and figuring out what is the right solution to get you where you need to go. Two is like looking at your team and will the team be able to adopt these technologies? I mean, I constantly see, particularly, you roll out a new technology, which has great hope, but if people don't adopt it and use it, you need to make sure that you have a plan to get people using it and comfortable with it, trained up on it, and actually leaning into the technology. So it's not like just give it to people and assume they're going to use it. I wish it was that easy, but you all probably know that you need to make sure that people are trained up on it. They have the right skill sets, they have the right mindset, they understand what the technology can do to help their jobs be easier and more effective. And then market agility. I think, as you look at technology specifically, you want that vendor or that partner, I'll say, to meet you where you are today, but also take you to where you want to go in the future. So don't choose something that just solves today's problem. Think ahead a couple of steps and ask them, where are they evolving their product and how do they plan to develop their roadmap so that it's continuously improving and they're investing in the future that you can grow with that particular partner. Future readiness, like will this stand the test of time and adapt to my future needs? I think hits on that point as well. And then finally, return on investment. I think we're continuously having to justify the expenditures, particularly as technology. It's maybe unproven. You need to really think through, how is this going to make money or save money, or hopefully both, and have a cost justification that you can give to your CFO, et cetera. I mean, we're certainly seeing that with the customers who are acquiring our technologies more and more. There's finance of the CFO, and in many cases, if it's a larger deal, it could be a board of directors that's involved in the final sign up of a decision. So really, being comfortable and learning how to talk the ROI talk with your CFO, I think is a really important skill set for you to think about.
I agree with all of these, and I really want to emphasize number 4, the future readiness, because whenever you're implementing technology, you want to be able to think about, how will I be able to, use APIs to do things in an automated manner? How will I be able to port out data from this system into whatever my system of record is for marketing in order to have those insights and create that connected customer experience? So sometimes you could find something that's a point solution that seems amazing at the one thing that it does. But if it does that in a silo that can't actually take in data from other places and give data back to the rest of your stack, then it's probably not going to be a great solution for you, unless, of course, you're all of a sudden just going to be doing whatever that one thing is for your business.
Well taken. You don't want that. You don't want that technology to be an island. It has to connect and talk with everything else. I sort of skipped over market agility inadvertently, and I just want to hit on that again. And in a moment, I'll show you, one of the things we're doing to help facilitate our localization and reaching those global markets that we want to get to. So, and I'll give some other examples about how at ICE, we were able to quickly adapt and leverage technology to do some really, really creative things. So more on that in a moment. So I think, we're talking about technologies, and we're talking about technology stacks, and this is really a framework to think about. We talked about content is everything. Content is king, content is queen, pick your phrase. But it really is the core of any sort of digital experience is what are those words and experiences you want to deliver? And that's words, images, videos, whatever that are being served up. So I really think of it as the heart of everything that we're doing in digital. And then, it's really tapping into this vast ecosystem of different technology vendors that are easily integrated in to your technology stack through open APIs. So that's a really critical thing to look for, and make sure that you can, again, pick those components and build a bespoke technology stack that really helps you solve your unique business challenges or opportunities. And then really, I've talked about, well, okay, you have these different components, but you need to integrate them together. So looking for those technologies that are very easy to integrate. It's not a huge development cycle to do so. And you have your systems talking to each other and leveraging, your master data. And then what's a user experience? What's the presentation layer that we see that is very intuitive, it's very engaging, and it draws your audiences in, and they want to come back to you as a result of getting that great front end. And then, last but not least, we talked about integration, but it's also the data, right? It's the technology integration, but it's the data, and how does that pass between these different systems so that they talk to each other in a well-orchestrated fashion.
And I mean, having that own data has always been important, but now as we're having the transition to Google Analytics 4, and we're really seeing that we're not going to be able to do all of the kinds of, surreptitious tracking that people got used to with cookies. People are increasingly saying no to being tracked across sites now that they have the ability with one click on their phone to turn it off. It really means that we have to think about, how can you create those experiences that incentivize your customers to log into your site, so that way then you are able to see what they're doing on your own platforms, and you're getting that really important owned data, and then, of course, using it and moving it between your different technology platforms.
Yeah, you bring up a really good an important point, which is, regulations are changing all the time, and it's like they're moving our cheese all the time, and so we need to be adaptable and be able to respond, because of course we all want to be compliant and protect our consumer information. So I think that that flexibility is something that we have to embrace in our own mindset, as well as lean into technologies that give us that flexibility to adapt and change as the world evolves. So we talked about revealing what our tech stack is. This is not comprehensive by any stretch of the imagination, but I think it helps to paint a bit of a picture, hopefully. So it may come as no surprise to you that we leverage our own software offerings. So our content management, our headless CMS system by Contentstack. We also have an offering called Contentstack Automation Hub. It enables us to do those easy integrations as well as automate workflows in a very customized fashion without necessarily leaning into developers. And then Contentstack Launch, which helps host the user experience, the user interface that the consumer sees on your on their digital devices. And so when you look at some of these surrounding things, we're using Salesforce as our CRM. We're using Marketo, which is integrated into Contentstack. We're using Demandbase as our ABX platform, and Groove for sales management. And then we've integrated into Slack as well. So how we've used Automation Hub in our case is anytime there is new content published to our website, it automatically sends a message to a Slack channel. So for all the people who are contributing content, they could just see when their stuff is posted in one place, and it doesn't require the web team to pick up the phone and call Mary and product marketing and say, hey, I just posted, your new solutions page. It just is automatically communicated, and people know about it in almost real time. And then, other things that we're doing that are really plugged directly into Contentstack is there's multiple options, you guys. So there's Algolia for search is what we're using. We're using Elastic for analytics. There's A/B testing that's plugged in here as well. And then we are just in process of rolling out a new technology called Localize, which will go onto our website and translate it in whatever language we want in a matter of minutes. So it's pretty exciting. And I just think about the way I would do that in previous roles and previous companies. Without this technology, it would take, weeks and months of effort to get just a few web pages localized, let alone an entire website. So that's super exciting as we enter more international markets as a key to our strategy. And then the last thing that I'll talk about is we're in process of implementing follows, and this enables you to really give those personalized experiences that you and I talked about earlier, Erica, which really enables you to do this at scale. So if I think of our ABM strategy, and one of the key things you want to do is really personalize that experience based on the persona and where they are in the buying cycle. And follows it will enable us to do that personalization at scale. So we're super excited about some of those new things that we're adopting this year, and some of those investments in technology that I'm personally making along with my team.
I love how you've integrated Slack. I actually, as a disclaimer, I worked quite a bit with them in the past writing up use cases. And, I always love it when I see companies using it as that kind of notification mechanism where no one will ever have the excuse of saying, well, I didn't know that went live. I didn't see that social media announcement. I didn't know that there was a new version of whatever it is. But when you integrate it, you have a channel for all of these different things. And so anybody who cares about that can get notified immediately without being drowned in emails. And I can only imagine how many emails all of these different things would have taken in the past, even, the localization, having had to localize web content and assets in, multiple languages and manage all of that manually in the past. The number of emails was astonishing. So I love seeing how your stack interconnects to give people that visibility without drowning them in information.
Yeah, exactly. And it also helps automate those laborious approval cycles that you must go through, right? You create the content, then you need to, have the subject matter expert approve it. Maybe your brand people need to approve it to make sure the trademarks are right and the brands are represented accurately. And then maybe you even have a legal loophole to go through. So just automating all of those workflows and, really saving time and increasing the velocity of getting things from, when it's generated to when it's actually published, and then being able to publish that to all these different devices with the click of a button in a matter of a few seconds. So let's talk about some real world experience that I have firsthand had, and this was prior to my being at Contentstack. And as I mentioned, I was with a company called ICE Mortgage Technology, where I was a CMO there for 7 years. And ICE is it's a software company servicing the mortgage finance business. So if you've ever gotten a mortgage in the United States, chances are your lenders used our product to process your mortgage. So, not a household name necessarily, but a really important technology. So we, initially implemented it to enable more people to be able to generate content on their own and post it to the website. So product marketing, had access to, publish new assets or new pages within the product and solution sections of the website. Our education and certification team was able to post on their own any sort of new course that we were offering, or any changes to course, as well as the schedules that they were being offered, and so on and so forth. So there was like about 60 people that initially were using the technology, and that was just the beginning. The other really cool thing that we were able to do is to actually build an ad server with Contentstack that was able to deliver personalized ads within our product, which is called Encompass. So that it was, either a promotional thing, hey, our user conference is coming up, or it was an ability for us to offer up information to talk about other products that we want our customers to think about, and it really helped dramatically improve our cross-sell efforts as a result. So that was a very cool and customized experience that we were able to develop. And then the last one that I'll mention is, 2020, the pandemic hit. And it hit right before we were planning our very large user conference, which was to be in person in Vegas at the Wynn Hotel. And that wasn't happening. So, so we had to quickly move to a virtual environment and deliver that event virtually. And we didn't have a virtual platform. And so we developed it using Contentstack, and we were able to host all this, video content, interaction, et cetera, multiple tracks, multiple sessions within the website, and, just using existing resources in our web development team and our content team to really make that very big pivot. And then there's just some stats.
I have to interrupt you because having been in financial services and known, I've firsthand lived the pain of having to talk to compliance and to talk to legal and have to have a producer use the CMS to make even the tiniest updates. And having had, one of those huge industry conferences as something that I helped put on every year, I cannot believe, this is astonishing to me that this platform actually allowed you to, the same platform that you're using for your content publishing, your content management, you were able to use it for an event, because usually, standing up an event platform, especially in a highly regulated industry, is something that takes like 18 months to get approval for, and all of this negotiation. And it was something that you were able to just do. That's really impressive.
Yeah, it was, and hats off to the team that came up with this idea. I'll have to admit, at first I thought they were crazy, and it was wonderful. And so it just kind of speaks to some of the power. And we have sort of a tagline of the pursuit of possibilities, and this was one of those, okay, this is a possibility. Let's figure out how to get it done, and we were able to. So let me move on to the next slide and just talk a little bit about what's on the horizon, and we'll quickly get to some Q&A here in a few minutes. Artificial intelligence, so generative AI is super fascinating. You can't pick up a virtual publication today and not read about ChatGPT and generative AI, et cetera. So we recently made an announcement about how we're planning to integrate it into our product. But I think it's, not only for our product, but also for my own team, we're really leaning into how can we use some of these really great generative AI tools to develop more content at scale and deliver it more quickly. Now, we realize that there always still needs to be a human element. It's not going to put us all out of business. Robots I don't believe will run the world, but it can certainly give us a competitive advantage if we lean into it in a hard way before our competitors do, and we're smart about how we utilize it. And then I think automation technology, we've talked about some of this as well, but how can we leverage some of the automation technologies that are emerging to, point and click and build workflows or integrations versus, the days of yore when there was heavy duty development efforts needed. So look for these two things. And I think it's just really exciting for me personally as a CMO. And I think it's really exciting for me as our company is playing in these spaces as well.
All right. Well, that brings us to our final poll question. So we want to hear how your investment in digital is comparing to last year's investment in digital. Are you spending more, less, the same amount? What is your year looking like? As we wait for questions to come in on that, I'll just share, as a content marketer, I am thrilled about generative AI for a few things. Firstly, every time I work with a different client, everybody has a different brand voice, of course, but I also do a lot of executive ghostwriting. And for me, it would be a dream to be able to take all of those notes that live in my head and live on little, scratches of paper for the things that are really unique about writing for or scripting various people, and to be able to actually put that into a generative AI tool and have it do the first pass. So that way it makes sure that I'm catching those things before I'm sharing my copy draft with someone else. I mean, that is just such the easy thing to do that really speeds up so much.
Yeah. So I'm seeing the results of the poll here, and it looks like most of you are investing more. 50% of you said you're investing more, which I can identify with because I certainly am. And then the next most popular answer was flat year over year, with a small percentage saying they're investing less. So again, kind of a split audience, and I know that there's probably various reasons why you're investing more, or investing less, or flat year over year. So anyway, I do think that taking a look at how you can leverage these technologies and maybe invest more might be something to think about. So this is the last slide, and then we'll pivot to Q&A. So get your questions ready, and we'll take as many as we can today. And then if we don't get to your question, we'll certainly capture it and be happy to follow up with you after the fact so that you get your questions answered. So just looking ahead, like, how do you make this actionable? What should you do first, second, and third? And I think, number one is assess your digital position. Where is my team on this journey? Where are we from a mindset perspective and a knowledge perspective, a skill set perspective? And then looking at your org, assess your org. Are you set up for success for a digital first strategy? And really taking a hard look at that. Looking at your tech stack, what are you using today? What components are missing? What additional functionality do you need to have to do more personalization, to automate more tasks, to increase your velocity of content generation, and to publish to all these various really cool digital devices that we all have in our lives now? And then, how do you justify the expense? Looking at the ROI and being able to put together a really solid business case for any investments that you feel that you need to make, and getting support for whoever you need to get that budget approval. And then, you partner with IT, right? At the end of the day, you're going to need to rely somewhat on IT to help you with your digital journey. And they're really a partner to me. And I know I make it a point to be very close to my CFO and my CIO in any organization that I am for various reasons, and because marketing is so much about technology, and and in some cases we need to rely on IT to get there. So this is my top 5, and and by the way, as we work with prospects and customers, we help them with all of these questions, and so we can lend a certain level of expertise to you if you are interested in potentially partnering with us. We don't expect everyone to figure it out on their own, but we love to partner with our customers on helping them get where they want to go as quickly as possible. So with that, I think we're going to go to the Q&A.
Excellent. It looks like we have quite a few questions already, but we left some time because we wanted some Q&A.
All right, I'll get you guys started on Q&A. Coming up first, what advice can you offer on selling digital first to my CEO and CFO?
That's a good one. And we talked about CFO and CIO just a moment ago. And I think that, the clear approach that I would take with a C-level audience, particularly CEO and CFO, is how is this going to help our business first and foremost? So it's not, some shiny object or widget that we want to do that we think is really cool in marketing, although that may be what we really think. We have to put it in terms that appeal to the CEO and the CIO and, CFO, in terms of, those business opportunities that we feel that we can open, that additional pipeline we feel that we can drive, for example, as well as cost efficiencies. If we have, this technology, we think we can, accelerate our development times without adding additional headcount, for example. So I think it's really taking that very business focus in terms of what is the business advantage and what is the cost advantage of that investment.
I would add, don't be afraid, though, to tap into FOMO. If you know that this is something that you need and they're kind of on the fence, just make sure to mention what your competition is doing, because it's not enough to just maintain at the same level with what they're doing. You need to surpass their digital capabilities if you want to retain your market share. So, lean on that a little bit. If the dollars and cents doesn't immediately convince them, then you have to go to the emotion.
All right. Got another question here. Can you elaborate about how to tap into ecosystems? And do you have any suggested tools for this?
Yes, great question. So there's something called MACH, M-A-C-H, all capitals. And that is the ecosystem that's leaning into sort of these composable architectures. And there's a whole slew of various software companies, as well as software companies who are part of the MACH ecosystem. And so through our product, we have a marketplace where we can help you shop for appropriate things. You're looking for personalization. Here's some suggested MACH partners that easily integrate. So, and MACH stands for microservices, API first, composable architecture. So it's kind of a mouthful and kind of gets kind of techie. But at the end of the day, it's just these components that are all being developed in a similar way and in partnership to make sure that's very easy for us to plug and play different capabilities into our tech stacks. And so we can help you with that as well. And there's, our partners and the MACH Alliance partners, there's a website for them, and as well as they're featured on our website to give you some ideas as to who's doing what and filling which holes in your tech stack potentially.
Okay. Another one here. What advice can you offer on how to best engage and partner with IT on the digital first journey? Digital first journey. Sorry.
It's okay. It's a mouthful. I think I've said it about 800 times in the last hour. I think, involving, your IT department early and often, there's many things that they're going to want to verify in any software technology investment, things around security, for example, and what is it going to integrate in, and how are they going to use my data if they're going to use my data, and making sure they have to be stewards of the data and they have to be stewards of the security. So I think it's involving them early. It's not throwing them for a loop at the nth hour when you're trying to roll something out tomorrow. It's giving them a little bit of a leadway and involving them potentially in the decision cycle, because they can ask some of those questions at the get-go that may be very important in terms of getting that investment over the line eventually.
And I would just add on to that, understand what some of the core systems are that everything needs to integrate with in your organization. For example, if everything is on Microsoft, if you have a tool that can be a plug-in to Teams or to another kind of Microsoft product, then that's going to be something that you're going to be able to get approved potentially, more quickly than having a standalone vendor that your IT team has to, more manually assess the security protocols. So always think through and look into what software you're already using that can allow you to bring in that additional functionality you need, because when you're plugging something in that's going through that system that's already been approved, that is so much easier for them to say yes to than something that's going to require a bunch of their time.
All right, well, thank you. I got another question here. At ICE Mortgage Technology, what were the biggest challenges, and did you have any surprises?
Yeah, I mean, initially our biggest challenge was we just wanted to, move from taking, a long time to launch new content on the website. It was very simplistic, and really enable more business users to take matters into their own hands and enable them and empower them to create content and post it on the website. And really cut down on that development time. Before it was just very heavy duty development effort. And that was a bottleneck for us. And so we knew that we needed to try to alleviate that bottleneck and have our developers focus on the really cool things versus just getting content posted on the website. So it started out at a fairly basic thing. And as I shared with you earlier, got into some very sophisticated things like bringing an event into a virtual environment, and as well as, integrating into our product and building an ad server. So I think I was surprised actually at what we initially bought the solution for, and what it actually, how powerful it was, of what, things that I would have never even thought about as we were making that initial evaluation. I never thought about those particular scenarios, particularly a pandemic hitting and changing our world. So it was just very pleasantly surprised to see how these capabilities really enabled us to do some very cool things.
All right, well, thank you very much. And I think we have time for one more. How often do you take stock and evaluate your tech stack for new capabilities?
Yeah. Oh, I don't have a certain timetable. I think that other than, as we're budgeting for the coming year, it's nice to know what you want to invest in at that particular moment in time. With that said, we are investing in technologies that I didn't necessarily have in my budget for this year, but I see such a great opportunity that I'm making sure that I can find the budget in order to invest in those things. So part of it's part of the budget planning process. And it's also looking at, like, what are we paying for and that we're really not utilizing? So how do we, kind of get rid of some of the technologies that's not really serving us well, so we can make way for new technologies. And then it's just opportunistically, as we discover something that we think can really impact our business in a positive way, and will help us solve a problem or get to market quicker. We'll definitely take a look at that opportunistically as it comes along.
It can be really nice if you kind of set aside some budget every year for those kinds of just-in-time technology investments. Because when folks were planning for this year, did any of us kind of see the vision for what generative AI was going to be able to help us with as marketers? I mean, some folks did, but a lot of us didn't see all of those potential use cases. And then we've also had a lot of tools that have wide use, like Canva, that all of a sudden they've embraced the generative AI and built it into their own system. And so they've gone from being this really great tool for people like me who are non-designers who want to be able to have things be nicely designed into being almost a pretty significant competitor for Adobe across all of the different kinds of internal kind of things that you'd want to publish and design. So you just kind of never know what's going to happen. So you've got to be willing to make those opportunistic decisions, either to invest in some new technology or to get rid of something that's not serving you as well for a competitor that has had a major breakthrough.
Yeah, and you just gave away one of my strategies, which is I call it Susan's top secret budget, which is money that I do earmark for. There's always going to be something that comes up that I didn't anticipate. As thorough as I like to think I am, there's just always something that comes up, and so I do try to earmark a certain amount of budget that's not necessarily associated to anything at the beginning, but I can tap into as these great opportunities or new technologies come away.
Well, all right. Thank you so much, Susan. Thank you so much, Erica. That's going to be all the time that we have for today. And last but not least, thank you to all of you in the audience for your time and your attention. Today's webinar was recorded, and you will be receiving a link to that recording in a follow-up email coming very soon. So keep an eye on your inbox. In the meantime, thank you all for coming once again, and I will see you on the next one.
Bye, everybody. Thank you.